Hi, I'm Jenny Fish with One Big Happy Yarn Company, and welcome back to our Libi Lace Scarf and Hat Knit Along. In this episode, we're going to go over a chart reading for how to knit this amazing lace motif right here in the round so we can make this adorable hat. Don't forget to get your kit at onebighappy.com. The kit includes the yarn plus the pattern for both the hat and the scarf. You'll also have two options when you're looking at the kits. You can get this amazing Monos silk blend yarn or the adorable Sheep She's cotton and acrylic blend, or get one of both. Let's get started. So in this episode for the Libi Lace hat, we're gonna do it a little bit different this time. What we're gonna do is go over more of the behind the scenes of making the hat, because in episode 1, I showed you all the stitches and all the knitting. So now I wanna give you some more background information on how to read a chart in the round and go over all of that. To start out with though, let's go over the supplies. We have a few different supplies. You'll still use the same kit that you can get at onebighappy.com. The kit includes the yarn and the printed pattern for both the scarf and the hat. They're together. For the hat, we're using two different size circular needles, 16-inch cable because you're knitting in the round and you want it all the same. So you're using a size 4 to cast on and a size 6 as we move on into the body of the hat. So there's two different size circular needles that you'll get, and that's a US size 4 and a US size 6. Both of them with a 16-inch cable. And then also too, as we finish up the hat, you'll want to switch over to double pointed needles. That's these here. They're also called DPNs, which stands for double pointed needle. There, they make it a lot easier when you're finishing up the top because there's less stitches and your cord will be too long at that point. You'll also want a few other things. I have a pattern keeper here that we're working off of a chart, so it makes it very handy as you're working your chart. And we have a tape measure, scissors, a cable needle. There are some cables involved in this pattern, so a cable needle or one of your extra DPNs, whichever you prefer, both work. We'll need some stitch markers and a tapestry needle. I like the bent tip. So those are some of, and a row counter, very important. I like the sound of that. Okay, so those are some of your extra supplies that I recommend while you're working this. First thing I want to talk about, and I don't harp on this a lot, but for this one, I'm going to tell you a gauge swatch. Very handy. This is my gauge swatch for knitting in the round. You see these ends? I want to show you how I make this, because when you're knitting in the round versus knitting flat, your gauge can change. And as you'll notice, in the scarf we used a size 7, in the hat I used a size 6. Well, my gauge changed a little bit, so I changed my needle size. So making a gauge swatch is very helpful to get on track so that your hat turns out the right size. Now, making a gauge swatch in the round doesn't mean you need to make a whole tube. You can kind of fudge it by using floats. And I've started one here, and I'm going to show you how this works. What I'm doing is I'm floating my working yarn behind my work. So here when I finished knitting this one, it was over here. Now I want to come back over here. So I'm just sliding it to the other side of my needle, and then I'm floating this behind the back and giving myself a little bit of slack there so that I can just start knitting over here. And the reason for this, when you knit in the round, you are always knitting on the right side of your fabric. So if you were to knit your gauge swatch going back and forth, well, your purl stitches may or may not have a different gauge than when you're knitting your knit stitches. So by always knitting your knit stitches and using this float technique to make your gauge swatch, then you know what your gauge is going to be. So that's what we're doing here. Once you have, you want your gauge swatch to be over 4 inches. For me on this one, I went ahead and just did one whole repeat of the chart so I could get an idea of what that looked like. On this one, I'm just doing garter stitch. Stockinette stitch, which is knit every stitch. So on this side, I'm knitting every stitch. Once you're done, then you just go ahead and bind off And after you're done binding off, then you just cut those floats right up the back. So you can see here I have all these loose little ends. That's these floats right here. I just took my scissors and cut those, laid it flat, and then you go ahead and block it, and then you take your measurements, and that gives you an idea of what your gauge is. Now remember, if you have too few stitches per 4 inches, then you need a smaller size needle. If you have too many stitches, then you need a larger needle. And it's backwards in my head when I say it, but when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, okay. It takes a minute to think about, but once you get it, then you get it, and you know, and you can adjust accordingly. Okay, so that's what I have to say about gauge swatches and how they work. And also, because this is a lace pattern, really block out your project, even your gauge swatch, because it makes a huge difference. It allows those stitches to open up, and then you have this nice, like here's not blocked. And I know this one is knit flat, but it just gives you an idea of what it looks like when it's blocked. See how open you can see the design in the fabric. So that's gauge. Now let's get into the chart. When you're knitting flat, you go back and forth. You have a right side and a wrong side, and there's back and forth. When you're knitting in the round, everything is the right size. Now for the hat, we have repeats. Our hearts are all over the place. So when I wrote the pattern, I incorporated those in the chart so it looks a little different than the flat version. So if you put it this way, you can see that's the bottom of the heart up here. This is the top of the heart. And then what you're going to do when you make this is you repeat this twice. And then this up here is the crown. This is how you finish it up, and it has the decreases in there to shape the top of the hat. And that's this right up here. See how they kind of come together? I worked those decreases into the pattern, and then it gives you this nice little motif at the top, which I think is gorgeous. I loved how that came together. And I have to thank Sarah for this because she helped me design this. I made this hat a couple times going, I'm not sure I like this. And then she emailed me and was like, hey, try this, try this, try that. And I was like, oh, I love it. So this was a combined effort to come up with this pattern and get it to all work out correctly. And I love it. But as you look at this chart, these are the same symbols in this section here that we did in the last episode. So if you need help working these, you can definitely go back there, check it out, and I show you how to make each one of these stitches. As we come to the decreases at the top of the hat, you're going to see 2 extra new little symbols, and they are the purl 2 together, which you should know how to purl 2 together. That's very simple. If not, we have a stitch support video that will help you with that. And the other one is an S2KP. And again, that's also a decrease. It's taking 3 stitches and turning them into 1. And you slip 2 stitches, knit 1, and then you pass the 2 stitches over. And we also have a stitch support video for that. So that'll help you finish up the crown of your hat. And then all you have to worry about is going through all of your stitches, weaving in your ends, and then blocking. And I know I talked a little bit about blocking before, but I want to go over blocking again. This is lace, so we want to open it up and make it nice and pretty. And we have this beanie blocker now, which I absolutely love. It has all these holes in it. And literally when I blocked this, it was dry within a few hours. I didn't even have to wait overnight because of the airflow and how lovely it just lays on here. So you soak it for 15 to 30 minutes in your favorite wool wash. I used Eucalan. I always have a problem pronouncing that, so I apologize, but it's Eucalan, and it's a wool wash. I soaked it in that and then rolled it up in a towel. Remember, we don't wring it. We just want to like wick that water out, roll it up, and get it out as easy as possible without disturbing our stitches. And then as we lay it on here, it opens up beautifully, dries fairly quickly. But yeah, we have this nice new little beanie blocker that I absolutely love. And after we made this, we were talking about it and going, oh, wouldn't it be cute with a little pom-pom? So we have these fur real pom-poms, and they have this nice little clasp right here, and you sew this onto the top of your hat right here. And then you can just pop it on, and then when you want to wash your hat, you just pop this off, and then this can all go into the washing machine. So we use sheep sheaves for this one, and it is 78% cotton and 22% acrylic. So yeah, it can definitely be washed, and it has a real nice texture to it. I really like the sheep sheaves yarn. So the other yarn that we used is the Monos Silk Blend. This is one of my favorites. I've used it for several of my own personal projects. Okay, why do I love Monos? It's silk blend, hand dyed, and it's certified fair trade. So what that means is that the ladies that make this get paid a fair wage for making it. And I appreciate that. But also, it's such a great product, and I love the way it works up. I love the way it feels, and we do have that available for this kit as well. So I hope you give that a try and test it out, because it's one of my favorites. So thank you for joining me for the Libi Lace Scarf and Hat Knit Along. I had a blast giving you the opportunity to dive into lace with me and reading charts and understanding the whole flow of how that works. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section. I check those and answer those along with my pal Sarah. And we love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much, and happy knitting.